June 20, 2023. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Daney?
Here.
Gansey?
Here.
Gunstein?
Here.
Hopkins?
Here.
Laporte?
Here.
Sawanski?
Here.
President Wallace.
Here, we've requested Pastor Dean Anen from Village Church of Bartlett to do our invocation this evening. Pastor, thank you for being here.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the amazing privilege we have in this country and in Bartlett, a city like ours where we can assemble and we can express our views together to do what is right and good according to you. Lord, we thank you for our mayor, for our trustees, city council, administration, public works, fire and police, all of our staff and leaders, and ask, God, that you would grant them the grace and the wisdom to listen well and to do what is right and fair in your eyes. God, we pray that Bartlett would be known as a fair community, a community that welcomes all, it is peaceful, and where justice reigns. May we act here tonight, God, in a way that is pleasing to you as neighbors, where we see all people that are made in your image and do things according to your will. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to our consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk will be enacted in one motion. No other discussion will be involved in items on the consent. I think we have a few people that want to make some adjustments to the consent.
Yes, Mr. Yes, I would. I'd like to add F1 from it's a resolution approving the Oak Avenue, Oneida Avenue parking lot project agreement between the Village of Bartlett and Abbey Paving Company.
Does anyone have any issues with that? All right, we'll add that. Anyone would like to remove or add anything else?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to add item E1, 2023-63R to the consent agenda.
E1, does anybody have any discussion around that topic? All right. Any removals? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to amend the consent agenda, which will include this evening the minutes from Board and Committee minutes June 6, 2023. The consent this evening will also include the bills list from June 20, 2023. The consent this evening we'll also include items B1, D1, 2, 3, and 4. We're adding item E1, adding item F1, also including items F2, 3, 4, and 5.
So moved.
Second. By Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Laporte?
Yes.
Sawanski?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next item we have on our agenda this evening, or actually I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Sawanski, seconded by Trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Sawanski?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next item we have is our treasurer's report. Mr. Treasurer?
Thank you. Included in your packets for this evening is the treasurer's report for the month of April. This is a preliminary month. This will be the last month of the year. We're working on our annual adjustments, so those numbers are just preliminary. Also included is your sales tax report. Received $281,334. That's up from $247,000, about $34,000 or 14%. So on the year, we were up about $436,000 from the prior year, or about 12.5%. For the motor fuel tax, we received $146,000. That was up from $138,000, or up about 5% from last year. We're pretty close to our budget at $1.67 million. Before the Rebuild Illinois funds. And in regard to the local government distributed fund, We received $576,000 for the income tax. That brought us to an annual total of $6.6 million at the 6.16%. If we would have been at the 10%, it would have been $10,844,000. So for the new state budget coming up, starting in July, it will increase to 6.47%, or about a 5% increase. Not the full, but about a 5% increase, so that would increase, based on our numbers from this year, that would increase our distribution by about $330,000. So that's it for the Treasurer's report, unless there's any questions.
Anybody have any questions for the treasurer? Hearing none, we will move on to what I believe some of the people in the audience are interested in. It is a proclamation for our village president. I'll bring these up if I don't drop them. They didn't get these from me, Paula. So proclamation recognizing Paula Schumacher for 30 years of service to the village of Bartlett. And I would say that she's got a lot more years of service to other organizations in the village of Bartlett also, so this barely covers what Paula has done for our village. But whereas in the month of June 2023, Village Administrator Paula Schumacher reached her 30th anniversary with the village of Bartlett. And whereas Paula was introduced to local government at a very young age, watching her dad serve as a volunteer firefighter and learning as both her father and mother worked for a local municipal public works and finance department, respectively. And Paula was not too far behind, dipping her toes into the municipal waters during her first job at Schiller Park Pool and Recreation Center. And whereas Paula went on to receive an education in political science from the University of Illinois, followed by a master's in public administration from Northern Illinois University. She brought that education to Bartlett, starting as an administrative intern and earning multiple promotions until she was named village administrator in 2017. And whereas Administrator Schumacher immediately showed herself to be a strong advocate for improving the nuts and bolts of government, working with every municipal department to develop and implement policy, taking the lead on projects such as strategic planning to gain an in-depth understanding of the goals set out by the village board and how to work with the management team to achieve them, and taking an important proactive approach to economic development. And whereas Paula quickly understood that Bartlett was not simply a municipality but also a community, and she went to work expanding communication and engagement with residents, building and maintaining strong relationships with both fellow taxing districts and various civic groups, including the Bartlett Veterans Organization, Bartlett Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Bartlett Rotary Club. And whereas the village and its stakeholders are grateful for Paula's service, her resolve, her focus, and her leadership. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Wallace, President of the Village of Bartlett, Cook, DuPage, and Kane Counties, Illinois, hereby proclaim a happy anniversary of 30 years to Village Administrator Paula Schumacher, dated this 20th day of June, 2023.
Came out of my garden.
Thank you, David Bennett and Bill, for sharing her with us for so many years. And an amazing I think our Rotary Club would function without Paula. Yes, I'd love for you to say something. And I would just add that we are going to have cake in between the board and committee meetings, so if you want cake, you got to stick around for the boring stuff, too.
I just wanted to thank you for the kind proclamation and I want to thank the mayor and the village board for the opportunity to serve the village of Bartlett. It has been a privilege to do what I do every day with the people who care so much about our community. Scott told me today to take a minute and enjoy tonight and feel proud. I do feel proud, but I also feel tremendously lucky. I have been very lucky to have been here through changes in my life, but Bartlett has always been the constant. A constant, but not static. Bartlett is constantly changing and presenting new prospects. And because of that, I was able to grow in place. It has been a blessing to work with the amazing team at Bartlett. They are generous with their time and their talent and their support. I've also been blessed to have a family that understands commitment to public service, who have encouraged me in every way possible. When I was an undergrad at U of I called my sister in a panic, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life or my political science degree. And she said, well, you should talk to my boss. And her boss was the city manager of Lake Forest. And he told me about this amazing job that I really didn't know existed. And then he told me that I could go to, I had to go take the GRE, and then I could go to Kansas, where he went to school, or I could go to Northern. And Northern was close to home, and I could live at home. So off to Northern I went, and lucky me, 2 weeks after I graduated, I got a call from the village of Bartlett, and my dad drove me out here with a paper map, because we weren't quite sure where Bartlett was. So he went and had a cup of coffee in Humbrox while I did my interview, and it all went okay, and I got to come to work down in the basement with the building inspectors, and I just never left. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And most people here know that night meetings and civic events take you away from the dinner table and from other family events. So to Bill and my sons, they get their own shout out of thanks for their flexibility and helping me be fully present where I needed to be. And so when I pause and look back, I'm especially grateful for the people that I have met and the friendships I have made. And it certainly doesn't feel like 30 years, so I guess that's a good sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, for everything. 30 years and she doesn't even get the night off?
Are you still in the basement?
Sometimes.
She has to go home and make dinner.
All right. Anybody have any questions for staff? Comments? All right, we'll move on to town hall portion of the meeting. This is a portion of the meeting where people are allowed to step up to the podium and address. I think they're going for cake already. No cutting the cake yet. Address the board if you'd like. I think we've got a list if you want to just call them. So they're
Mike Weirden?
Good evening, and congratulations to you, Paula, a wonderful asset of the community. Michael Worden, 431 South Main Street, Bartlett. I want to talk about connectivity issues in Bartlett and keeping thoroughfares open. If you go down Stearns Road toward what is now County Farm Road, you'll notice a sharp turn at Nicole because it lines up with Greenbrook Boulevard. Because we were wise enough at one point to realize where it came out on what was then Jefferson Street was not lined up to be a good thoroughfare. Look at Munger Road and Naperville Road, how they also were lined up so that we have more easy travel here in Bartlett. Well, that's what was intended for Devon Avenue. Devon does take a curve. It used to end at Bayberry because there was a marsh issue there, and so it had to be mitigated. But also, all those homeowners over there fought Devon Avenue going through. They also fought the connection of Jervy Lane, and Auburn Lane. And so there was, they had approached the DuPage County Forest Preserve to condemn the Otto Wint Farm to stop us from going through. We knew what was happening, so we also had a condemnation suit in, and ours was a half hour before theirs. So it would have taken precedence, but we didn't have the backbone to stand up to that, so we caved in and let them have it, and that shall never go through. Now we're faced with a similar problem at Fair Oaks Road and Gerber Road on the proposed school property. They're wanting us to renounce it and cave in and give away the right-of-way, something that has been planned for years. They would also benefit from Fair Oaks Road being realigned because the intersection at Army Trail and Fair Oaks Road is a much flatter, wider intersection. Currently, at the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they said that 60% of the traffic would go north and 40% south. And the problem is Gerber has quite a sharp incline to it down to Army Trail Road. It's a narrow intersection. It's not conducive to buses. They would benefit a lot more also having the Fair Oaks Road. I just encourage you not to fall down on another thoroughfare that is going to be reneged from Bartlett residents and not allow us to have it go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Kevin Adway.
Kevin Andaway, 233 Hawk Hollow Drive. I gave each of you a handout. From the last meeting we had with the zoning, these are some of the topics that were taken away with for them to review and for U46 to come back with a proposal of new ideas. One of the things on here is item number 5. They proposed a 6-foot vinyl fence on the back lot of the homeowners' properties. We're proposing an 8-foot fence, only because on the last page of the Bartlett Code of Ordinance, it says an 8-foot fence shall be provided on the perimeter in lieu of a parking lot. So since this is not a residential we're backing up to, but falls in order of an industrial, we're suggesting a 8-foot fence. And then proposal of the fence style, we proposed the vinyl fence, which we agree with them, but we would like to have this, it's called the Allegheny beige granite, which basically looks like field stone that's encased in plastic. It's a style, only because the aesthetics of the neighborhood, it would blend in well with the homes over there. The other items on things we talked about was the traffic flow. Since they are building an entrance road into the school adjacent to Jockahara Drive, that's only 115 feet from Hawk Hollow Drive. So with the lane that they're proposing, that would block the intersection from us to get out in the morning, especially with the cars lined up to pull in there. So we proposed to them to realign that and think of a better idea how to get that across. The other things we talked about was the lighting of the parking lots. We proposed that arborvitae trees be planted on the adjacent side of the fence. So numerous things. A, to block the sound of traffic through the roadway, so we're not hearing cars all day going back and forth. And plus to give the aesthetics of blocking the view of the school as they grow over the years, because they can grow up to 20, 25 feet tall. Those are some of the things that we planted on here. We have not heard back on any items back yet from U46, so I don't know when we would find out the answer. And these are the things that the board took away last time for them to recommend. So that's what we're just waiting on. And I thought I'd give you the suggestions, what we've talked about, so you're aware of what's is on point.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blair Elam.
Yes, my name is Blair Elam. Thank you very much for your time here. Well, I'm of Hoffman Estates. I've been asked to kind of share some things, having experience working for engineering firms as well as a teacher, as well as a school bus driver for about the last 11 years. I'm just speaking, I want to share a few thoughts, if I may, briefly about that elementary school to middle school conversion and the Gerber Road to the Fair Oaks approaches. The thing about, from a teacher's perspective, you want to make sure your students are there on time and not delayed, not missing time at all. And the Gerber Road location, it's narrow, it's true. Think about buses, they have a big back end. And if a bus were driving, going westbound on Irving Park Road and trying to make the turn there, they're going to have a very tough time doing it. There's a national shortage of bus drivers. The average experience level has dropped a lot as a lot of bus drivers decided just not to keep doing it because of the risk of COVID. And so the inexperienced level is also going to add to the complication where a bus going that direction, wanting to go northbound, they're going to wait until there's no southbound cars. Problem is any intersection, you never have green lights going both east and west and north and south at the same time. So that means that particularly an inexperienced one, or one that doesn't want to disobey the law by swinging out in the lane next to where they're at on Irving Park Road, taking over a second lane. It's illegal to do that. The bus drivers have to swing out into the other lane, so it would be the southbound lane to make that turn. So you can't do that. The risks are accidents. The risks are backing up along Irving Park Road by multiple.
When you're using Irving Park, are you meaning Army Trail?
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's okay. I just thought you probably were.
Yes, we're talking about Army Trail.
Yeah.
So, so that would be a backup of buses causing congestion on Army Trail. And that also means then that any buses, if a bus were to try and make the turn and they get stopped part way, they realize they can't make the turn. That also means any buses that are going eastbound on Army Trail can't make the turn either. So you've got now backups on both sides going on. That's a problem for commuters, it's a problem for the citizens. Add to that the dilemma of wintertime. Now you have less experienced drivers trying to make a turn, going slow on an area, and all of a sudden when they do get a chance to go, the road could be slick, they're spinning, buses are all rear-wheel drive, fishtailing going on. What are the complications of accidents? Most areas, that means if there's an accident, officers have to be called, paramedics have to be called, every student has to be inspected. Now you've got a backup on both ends of vehicles not being able to get through because you have accident potential there. Everybody gets late to school. From a teaching standpoint, that's just ugly. The Fair Oaks has got a nice wide entrance location. It's got a good turning area. I don't know if there are people of the school district here. They may lose a little bit of parking space by taking the Fair Oaks approach. And I'd just maybe encourage the idea that they would consider a world-class approach that are done at a lot of corporations, and that is having a multi-level parking garage. They could even have water retention underneath, either in a basin or in a tunnel approach. Both are done. But I would really like to encourage that idea from a bus driver standpoint of safety. I've been driving for 11 years, taught for 6, that the Fair Oaks is a great location, and the other will just cause nightmares at different times, especially with the increase in population, more buses. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Blair. Anybody else like to address the board at this time? Who do we got online? Is it Chris? Yes. Chris, is there anybody in the hybrid that would like to speak to the board?
No, sir, there is not.
All right, no one else in the room. We'll move on. Standing committee reports. First standing committee report is Building and Zoning Committee, Chairman Gunstein.
Thank you, President Wallace. We have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Gunstein. Community and Economic Development Committee, Chairman Gansey.
Thank you, President Wallace. Everything was covered under consent tonight.
Thank you, Chairman. Actually, were we on was number 2 on consent? Okay, I don't have an asterisk. Oh, yes, I do, I just crossed over it. Okay. Thank you, Chairman Gansey. Financing Committee, Chairman Laporte.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one item on the agenda. Attached is a resolution to amend the 2023-24 budget. Amendments can be made when unexpected delays require funds to be carried over from the prior year after the current budget has been adopted. This is for the Municipal Building Fund, parking lot improvements. The fiscal year 2023-24 budget included $400,000 for the South Oak parking lot, with $100,000 expected to be completed in 2022-2023 year. But due to delays in downtown construction projects, the parking lot project was delayed, and the full amount of the project will be needed for the 2023-24 year. The Oneida and Oak parking lot improvements project, which was originally budgeted for in the motor fuel tax fund, was also carried over to the current year and was combined with the South Oak parking lot bid. An increase in the municipal building fund parking lot improvements line of $250,000 to a new total of $650,000 is needed to account for these changes. And if Todd could just give us a minute or two to explain that in layman's terms, that would be great.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So this project that we're talking about was one that was being approved tonight. It was the South Oak parking across from the Moore Brewing, and also the Oneida parking lot. So they were combined into one bid to make it better for, more efficient for going out for bidding and for construction. The thing was that the Oneida lot was was budgeted for in the MFT fund in last year's budget, and it was not completed in last year's budget. So part of the increase is carrying that money over, but instead of coming out of MFT, since it was bid together with the South Oak, it needs to come out of other funds than MFT. So that's why municipal building funds are being used for the Oneida parking lot. As far as the South Oak, $400,000 was bid this year, expecting $100,000 to be spent last year for a total project of $500,000. Since none of that was completed last year, it's all going to be completed in this fiscal year. So we're just carrying that 100 from last year forward into the 23-24 budget year to bring that up to $500,000 for the project. So the total bid project that was just approved on consent was $606,000 plus some for contingencies. I brought that up to $650,000, so that's where the $650,000 is coming from. So I think that's as much as I.
That's perfect.
I think that's a.
I read through it. It was a little hard for me to put the numbers together. I talked to Todd today, and I said, you know what, just explain it the way you did to me, because the way he explains it is a little clearer than how it's written. So if there's not any questions, then I'd like to move to approve resolution number 2023-62-R, a resolution approving an amendment to the fiscal year budget 2023-2024.
Second that.
Moved by trustee Laporte, seconded by trustee Daney. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Chairman Laporte. License and Ordinance Committee, Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. Item D1, D2, D3, and D4 were covered under the consent agenda tonight. That's all we have.
A lot of fireworks going on. Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Police and Health Committee, Chairman Swansky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item E1 was covered under the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Swansky. Public Works and Golf Committee, Chairman Daney.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 6 items on the agenda. Items 1 through 5 were covered under consent. The only remaining item on the agenda is Bartlett Hills Golf Club irrigation. And with that, just I'm going to give you a little background, and then I'll turn it over to our ground superintendent, Bartlett Hills. He can answer any questions you may have. But staff opened bids on June 5, 2023 for Bartlett Hills Golf Club irrigation improvement project. This project will replace the existing irrigation system with the latest technology and piping, which is HDPE sprinkler heads. It's high-density polyethylene, and computer controls, HDPE, or high-density polyethylene, again, would be installed through the process known as fusion or welding of the pipe. The pipes have a life expectancy of 50 years with proper maintenance. Several measures / addendums were made to drive down the price of the system. They included taking out roughly 295 heads, no pump house, different piping designs, no range field heads, and staff will remove the existing heads. Without such adjustments, this project would have been close to an extra $858,500. Budget considerations. When the irrigation system was proposed, it was determined that it would come out of developer deposits and paid back through a loan of $100,000 a year for 20 years. Given the cost of bids, it is recommended that the payback period be extended to 24 years. And with that, any questions you may have?
We'll just move to approve it first, and then
Oh,
we'll...
you want me to do that? All right, I move to approve Resolution 2023-65-R, a resolution awarding the Bartlett Hills Golf Club irrigation improvement bid to Commercial Irrigation Incorporated.
Second.
Thank you.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Sawanski. Is there any discussion now? I think Matt wanted to kind of chime in and...
Yeah, Matt, please, if you'd be so kind, give us a little background on what's happened out there, why the increase occurred, and what we anticipate in the future.
Absolutely. So we created that budget number back in June 2022. Our consultant, and he's currently our consultant, is EC Design. And the way he came up with that number was they try and look at recent projects that have gone out to bid at that time frame. And there wasn't many public golf courses installing irrigation systems at that time in our area, Cook County, Kane County area. But there was one in the Calb, and he looked at that number, and that number came out to roughly $3,000 per irrigation head. So at that time, he thought that would be a good number to go off of for the system. And we came in a year later, and he was saying the increase is basically due to cost of material for HDPE pipe has been fluctuating a lot, and it has gone up, and then prevailing wage has also gone up. So he believes those are two reasons why it has gone up so much in what he budgeted to what we have now. With the issues at the golf course, I can kind of explain. The current system is PVC piping. It has a life expectancy of really short, 10, or it can go all the way to 30 years. And that window is kind of dependent on where the golf course is located, how it's maintained throughout that 30 years. If it's maintained well, you can probably get 30 years out of it. If it's maintained poorly, you're only going to get 10, 15 years. We installed it in 1998. So we're at that time, we're coming on upper 20s, closer to 30 years for the system, and we have routine PVC breaks, or not breaks, there's little pinhole leaks on the PVC pipe. Like a PVC pipe is 20 feet. So you have a little pinhole leak occurring periodically. We've had 7 this year, we've had 10 last year. So these little pinhole leaks are occurring all throughout the golf course. And then your task is, there's a wet spot, you have to find where the pipe is, because it's just a pinhole leak. And that little pinhole leak, that leak can run just down the pipe until it finds an opening. And then you have a wet spot down here. And then you're wondering, you dig your hole, is this the wet spot? No, there's no leak here. So you have to go back up the line. You keep digging until you find that wet spot. So if you think about, the golf course has 3.6 miles roughly of PVC pipe out there. And the PVC is in 20-foot sections. So just in 1 mile, roughly, you're going to have 264 coupling connects of PVC pipe. So eventually, all these little PVC couplings are going to start leaking all over the golf course, which they currently are. And then we have sprinkler heads. We have roughly 750 current sprinkler heads. We have roughly 40 that are just, the bodies are cracked. They haven't been maintained over the years. Air fires have hit them, golf cart traffic running over them. So the heads are just breaking, and we're going to start having to we want to start buying new heads and putting in those new heads to replace the old heads. So we're kind of at a,
So it sounds like the new system that we're bidding on is different and in better quality than,
yeah, correct. The new system would be HDPE piping. They say it has a life expectancy of at least 50 years, at least. Some go up to 100, but 50 is what they're saying. And then all your pipe is fused together with heat, so it's basically like welding the pipe. So our current system, our pump house, it runs every 7 minutes, flowing 200, 500 gallons of water every 7 to 10 minutes to keep up with all the leaks on the golf course. So over the course of 24 hours, you're throwing out a lot of water unnecessarily. HDPE is designed not to leak at all, they say. As long as it's welded or fused together by a qualified contractor, you basically have zero, they're calling it leak-proof.
so when we went out or we put an RFP together, so we just put that and then people contacted us, did we contact any other companies that do it besides these two?
I did not reach out to any contractors. Three reached out to me, Commercial, Midwest, Halloran and Yacht, and then Leibold Irrigation reached out to the consultant. Those are kind of the 4 major irrigation installers in our area.
And so why then are there 2 proposals? What happened to the third?
They didn't. He just came out and toured the golf course. I don't think he was qualified to install the system.
I guess my question is, it's over the budget that we had, and I know that things have changed in a year, but is there a way to get like 1 or 2 more? Like if we were to call out, instead of just waiting for someone to call in, are there other places we can ask? Just to get like a third one to kind of know?
I think Leibold would have been the third one. From my understanding, they didn't want to bid on it because they're so locked in the next couple of years with their projects. They didn't feel like they wanted to add another one to their plate.
One of the things to keep in mind also is that this work is scheduled, we could have it scheduled for the late summer, beginning of fall. And as far as interruption of play, there'd be minimal. So we'd still maintain the revenue base that we currently have at the club, even while this was going on.
So there's annual maintenance on this?
Pardon me?
There's annual maintenance on this?
Oh, yes, correct.
And who performs that?
Myself or Anthony.
On
our
the new
assistant.
system?
Oh, on the new system? It would still be myself doing the maintenance. With the new system, all you're really trying to do is, with all of your valves on the golf course, you'd be agitating them once or twice a year, opening the valve, closing the valve, just making sure it's turning. All the irrigation heads I would be looking at, or Anthony would be looking at.
But do they have to do it? Or, I mean, is it required that they do that maintenance, or can you do it? Can we do it?
It's not required that they do it, and
Okay, and can you tell us approximately what the annual maintenance cost is?
right now,
No, on the new system?
oh,
Did they,
I can't give you an exact number, but it wouldn't be much. I would say under
Can you-
$2,000 if
Yeah, it'll be.
Tell them what you're doing now with regards to maintenance, putting Band-Aids and one thumb here, one thumb there to keep this system going. How many hours a week are you and your staff putting in
Yeah,
maintaining a poorly running system?
it's every day. When I first arrive at the golf course, I get there an hour before all the other staff, and then I get in my golf cart and I drive hole to hole, and I have to make sure I'm driving the holes, and I'm looking at the cart pass, I'm looking at the trees, making sure the irrigation system ran the previous night. So I have to kind of time when I run the water to when I get there, so the cart pass will still be wet, the trees will still be dripping with water, and then I kind of go from there, and if the system didn't run, if I see a hole that didn't run, I have to figure out why. One, why it didn't run? Was there communication errors with our central computers and the satellite boxes? Are those issues still present? If I can't fix the problem right away, I have to take a flag key, and I have to go to each individual head on the fairway, and greens and tees, which could be 70 to 80 heads a hole. And I have to key on 6 heads at a time, set my cell phone, let it run for 12 minutes, turn that one off, and then go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, 6 at a time. And then once I go around the entire course, I start closing valves on holes 3, 8, 9, and the driving range because we have leaks there, so I don't want the pumps to continue to run excessively. So that's what I do. And then just another benefit of the new system, too, would be you would save your life expectancy on the pumps because they're not cycling every 7 to 10 minutes.
So when you mentioned the $858,000 that it would have been extra before you reduced it by eliminating the pump station, piping design, the range field heads, is that $858,000 on top of the $1.9 million budgeted amount, or is it the $2.4 million bid?
That's on top of the 2.4.
I seriously question our engineer right now, because that is a significant impact in 1 year. I understand there's COVID delays and there's product delays and, you know, prices going up, but that's actually absurd to be off by that much money. So I really think we need to look at this because, I mean, that is a serious problem in my eyes. That's just my opinion. So
I have a question for Matt. Matt, you mentioned that the range currently has a sprinkler system. Are you tying the new sprinkler system into the range, or are we just eliminating that?
So yeah, correct. We would have irrigation heads on the driving range tee box and the putting greens, but the driving range field with the target greens and where all the golfers hit their practice shots, we would eliminate all the heads there and not irrigate it. So it would actually help out us, less mowing in the summertime because you're not irrigating it. And they would leave valves there, gate valves there, in case in the future we ever wanted to add heads there, in case we wanted to do a small par 3 course or something on the driving range.
Oh, I guess I'm just trying to figure out why we can't tie that system in until we can look at a budget
To the
for
current system?
extending this to that range.
Oh, the range is a disaster. I would say 50% of the heads on the driving range are not functional right now.
But we're paying more and essentially getting less is what that's why I'm thinking, like, outside the box, can we tie that in so that we can get that fixed and up and running? Even though your general maintenance costs have gone down, you actually focus on the maintenance just on that area to keep that going?
We could.
And the other question I had is that the rain heads that you guys are speccing, do they save water over the period of sprinkling it overnight? Is there a savings based on the amount of gallons per minute that are pushed out?
Yeah, so with our current system, you can only run water to the minute. So if I want to run fairways for 10 minutes, I run for 10 minutes. But sometimes you only have to water. The way I water is you can water off ET rates. You can see what the evapotranspiration is for the day. And there's formulas you can use that tell you if your ET is 1/4 of an inch, bent grass is 85% ET rate. So all you have to water is 16/10 of an inch to get to that number. So 16/10 of an inch on this new system, it's smart enough to know 15 minutes and 22 seconds is 16/10 of an inch. So in 1 minute, a fairway sprinkler puts out roughly 60 to 80 gallons per minute. So if you can cut that time in half, so you got 80 gallons per minute, if you can cut it down to 40 gallons per minute, 40 gallons per minute times 840 sprinkler heads, you're saving a large amount of gallons per water just by cutting down your run times per one head for 30 seconds. And like right now, during the drought or any summer, the irrigation system is running on a daily basis. It's not like it's just running 1 time a week or 2 times a week. We're running it every single day, because if we don't run it every day and something breaks right now, the greens are going to die. Something's going to happen. The greens are going to die, fairways are going to die. So you're running it every single day.
where are you getting the water to irrigate?
We have a well on property.
So it's not coming out of Lake Michigan where we get our water supply, correct?
Well, electricity and the pumps.
So no savings from saving water then?
Not from water, but environmentally, and then you'd be saving from the pumps, electricity from the pumps running and stuff, not running as much.
All I can tell you is that Bartlett Hills is one of the best assets that our village has, and all the recommendations and social media posts that I see, everyone's telling that Bartlett Hills is by far one of the best public courses out here in this area. And it's really our responsibility to do something to preserve that, because it is such an asset to our village. And we're generating revenue, rounds of golf are up. We're doing outstanding on that. Somebody had asked about repairs, and I had pulled it up here. And see if I can find it here. The employees doing the majority of repairs are the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. In April, staff spent 50 hours repairing the system. In May, they spent 80 hours repairing the system. And in June, the staff spent 70 hours repairing the system. That does not include the superintendent arriving at the golf course an hour before the rest of the crew starts to open and close the gate valves where current leaks are located. They are also responsible for running the day-to-day operations of the maintaining the course. So that'll give you some idea of the hours that they have in repairing and maintaining the existing system that we have.
We've discussed, trying to get more revenue out of the driving range. So I just was curious what your thoughts are on the driving range being completely dry at this point.
I don't think anybody really cares about the actual landing area and the driving range. The tee boxes are important.
And the greens.
And the greens. The practice greens and tee boxes are important, but the landing area, it could be dirt.
I think we should also look at this as, from the point of view of a public works set of eyes versus a golf course set of eyes, because it's infrastructure. Infrastructure is not glamorous, it's not pretty, it's not the frosting on the cake, but it's essential. And, we've learned from Dan in the past that, the useful life on the pipes under our streets are 50 years. We're getting close to 30 on something that's useful life might be 25 to 30. So it's a steep increase in the budget. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if we look at it as infrastructure, what will we have if we don't do it? We will have bent grass that won't grow. We'll have greens that won't work. 35,000 rounds of golf might drop down to 18,000 rounds of golf. And not to pick on any other golf courses in the area, but there's one in the area that when it was privately owned, it was pretty well populated, lots of rounds of golf. And since it's fallen under new ownership, maintenance has been a little bit less than what it was before, and they don't have the rounds of golf. So then what is an asset now might become an albatross later.
I want to just hitchhike on that a little bit also. If you would spend a little, we had to have, one of the complaints that we've had is the sand traps over there at Bartlett Hills. And Matt has taken it upon himself to work on those traps. Now, we had, what do we spend on the one trap on 18 that we had the professional come in and repaint that trap? It was about 12 grand?
18 was roughly like 8,000 off the top of my head. We had him come in again last year. He gave us quotes to do more bunkers at the golf course. He quoted us to do number 10 and 11, and he quoted us at $27,000 to do 2 bunkers.
So with the cooperation of Public Works and our staff over at Bartlett Hills, we're actually redoing the traps. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're redoing those traps on an as-needed basis. We've ranked them and prioritized what traps need to be done. 15 was just done.
Yeah, we knocked out, 18's been done, 3's been done. We just finished 11 today, 17 and 15. So our goal is kind of to work backwards, do the greenside bunkers first, so when the golfers finish, their final impression of the golf course is better, with better bunkers.
As far as I'm concerned, you should have left the trap at 15 as ground under repair, because I was in there and took an 8 on the hole this past week, so.
All right.
I think you should eliminate all of them.
I don't disagree that we need to keep up with something, and I think that this is a way to go. What I was commenting on was just, is there a way to get like 1 or 2 more bids so we know that this is in line and we're not overpaying? Is there another, and how quickly could that happen? And then the second question, we had talked about raising the fees. When is that scheduled? Is that happening after this project, or when was?
We've raised the fees approximately about, again, we don't necessarily have a rack rate. It's based upon play during the weekend, based on the weather. The only traditional rack rates are Saturday and Sunday mornings. Other than that, we have flex pricing. We're at about $3.80 more around so far this fiscal year. But we're looking at possibly going up more as play gets busier. Like this
So obviously, we want to keep this golf course nice, we're raising fees, we want people coming there.
The nicer we keep the golf course, the more we'll be able to charge.
Right. So my only question again is, did the consultant look at these numbers? Is there any other bids that we could get?
Let's talk a little about the timing of the bid and Ray's point when that would ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we gave the contractors a very big window of when they could start. They can start in September of 2023, and they can finish in September of 2024, which is a very attractive window for these contractors. Commercial, Midwest, the consultant told me with the prices of the bids, he said to look at commercial and look at the Midwest bid, and just, if you're worried about the numbers, he said, look how similar those two numbers are. He said they're two different companies, so it's just not one person giving you a high number. He said there's two contractors. But with the commercial, they have a window where they're available, ideally late fall into winter-ish until the ground freezes, and they can finish in the spring. They want to fit us into that window to install the system, which would be great for us because when they install the system, you have to close one hole at a time. So in the summer, it's not ideal for a golfer if you say, hey, you can play 17 holes today, one hole's going to be closed. So if we can push it to late fall when the rounds are very down, and they'll work as long as they can into the winter. In the spring, once the ground thaws, when the course isn't busy, they would pick right up and they would knock it out.
How long is a hole closed?
Oh, I don't think rebidding, you're going to get many at all, people to bid on it. So Leibold's out, they didn't bid on this one. Halloran and Yacht didn't qualify. And then commercial, I believe they would drop out because their schedule is so full. And then Midwest, I'm not sure what they would do.
How long does it take for each hole? How long will it be closed?
They would close one hole a day, so they think the whole system, they would install the main line first, which doesn't run down, it runs down the hole but in the rough. So they would install that first, and then they would do a hole a day basically. So it would take about start to finish, perfect weather, 10 to 12 weeks.
I think we owe it to the taxpayers to take some time and look at this. I am in 100% agreement that it needs
This is
to be
not
done.
costing taxpayers anything.
I thought I was talking. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure you were clear on that.
Yeah.
Right? You clear on that?
Oh.
You sure you're clear on that?
You know, Ray, why don't you just talk?
Right.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to vote no on this because it's $1.3 million over budget. And the engineer did not think. Engineers are supposed to give us reliable information, and they did not, Ray. $1.3 million over the engineer's estimates on a $1.9 million project. It's not worth it to just sit back until the next meeting and say, hey, let's consult someone and just see where we're at. It's not worth doing that.
You want to table this?
I would just like the engineers to look at this, maybe bring another consultant in, just to make sure we're not missing something. Because, like Trustee Gunstein said, we are giving up a lot. The new pump station, or the pump house that has to, not get put in. There's other things that they're going to come back to us in 2 years and say, we didn't do it then, we got to do it now, and that's going to be another $1 million.
How long would it take to get another opinion on this, Scott? Paula?
I mean, I'm not exactly sure who we would get to give us a review.
Can I actually make a suggestion? Obviously, Illinois golf courses are not being built as much as they are in the south, like Florida, where it's warm all the time. Is there a way to reach out, if we are going to do that, reach out to other municipalities that have done this outside of Illinois, just to see what the comparable price is, and then cross it with what our current prevailing wage is, and that'll kind of give you a rough idea to answer Trustee Hopkins' question,
One thing to keep in mind, if you don't move forward, you would have to deny this and redo it. And that could, like Matt said, jeopardize the timeline greatly. If you have to close holes, if you were going to do it that way, revenue loss would probably
how long is the bid good for?
60 days.
And when did we receive it?
June 5th.
5th of June.
They opened the bids on the 5th of June.
We got some time. I would just chime in just one small piece of this equation that nobody's talked about, and we've heard about how many hours Matt has been spending on a golf course. At some point, we're going to have to do something, because we're actually having our superintendent, who has created this amazing golf course, and I hear rave reviews from everyone on sticks of gum, and he's like a MacGyver. And it's really not fair to him to have him working through this old irrigation system, because it's not easy to make a golf course look the way that Bartlett Hills looks. It is not. So it'd be like me in the financial world not having a computer to work, right? Manually doing it. So we need to give him the tools. I don't think it's a bad idea to take a little bit more time, table it. Maybe we can see if they can sharpen their pencil, tell them that the board was really concerned with the engineering and those issues. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, as long as the bid's still out there.
Like I said, we absolutely need to maintain the course. I am in 100% agreement with that. It is a beautiful course. I want to keep it that way. I'm just concerned with the dollar amount.
I agree with Adam, and that it needs to be done, but if there's things we can look at, just take another
I
couple
think
of
the
weeks.
project the consultant was saying we should look at would be the project in the CALB, which came in at $3,000 per head a year ago. And everyone I've talked to, consultants, distributors, have said that you should, if you're going to wait, say, a year or 2 years from now, expect the price to go up 10% a year, per se, for material costs and prevailing wages. So if you look at the $3,000 or $3,000 per head at the CALB, 10%.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that we wait that long. I think we're suggesting that we go back to these companies and say, hey, we can't live with cutting out this much of the original bid. Maybe they can sharpen their pencils.
We could, but from my understanding,
The sharpening of the pencils might be coming to us when we ask them for a breakdown of what the credits were that they offered us to gather that 800,000. Maybe there's more that they held on to just in case that they needed to apply it to the cost of the job. I mean, I'm in construction. I know how that field works when it comes to bids and credits.
yeah, they gave us a rundown of the alternates we took out and the price for the alternates. Alternate 1 was $25,000. Alternate 2 was $265,750,000. Alternate 3 was $327,500. Alternate 5 was $217,750, and alternate 6 was $22,500.
I move to table resolution 2023-65
65?
until the next regular scheduled meeting.
You'll have to have some kind of answer for us, because we're going to
Do you
move
have a
forward
second?
with a vote on that at that time. So Trustee Hopkins would like you to reevaluate that, so get us some information, and,
I think other board members would like that also too, Ray.
well, you're the one that brought it up, okay? Please, don't get picky with me, please. Come on, relax a little bit, will
I
you?
just want to say something that was on the delete alternate sheet. There's a number of 21 driving range field sprinkler heads that were deleted, correct? For the sum of $22,500. If I take the math of $3,000 per head, that's a $63,000 credit that should be due to us if we use the original budget.
Yeah,
I know it's not apples and apples, because you're still gonna have pipe going past there and stuff, but it seems like there might be more credits due based off of us getting less in return. That's all. I think if we are gonna table this, and if we do vote to table this, I think we should look at that as the area of where it's costing and what the changes are.
There's another Prairie Landing, just south of here. They went out to bid about a month before us, and they came in at roughly $4.5 million for I'm not exactly sure how many heads, but they were 50% over budget on that project, just to give you an estimate of kind of what they're going for. That wasn't commercial or Midwest on that job. That was Leibold on that job.
Who was the engineer that gave the estimates?
I'm not sure.
Can you find that out for us?
I could.
Thank you.
safe.
I just want to point out that we do not have a meeting on July 4th, so we're moving that to the July 18th meeting.
That'll still be within the 60-day window, right?
Will it?
June 5th, July 5th, August 5th, we should have till August 5th.
Okay.
If I do my very fast calculation. It was moved by trustee Hopkins, seconded by trustee Gansey to table. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Sawansky?
Yes.
Daney?
No.
That motion carries. And that, my friends, is it for the board. We do have any new business anyone would like to discuss?
Going back to the Oneida parking lot, what was the start date on that work? I didn't hear it earlier. Apologize.
We don't have a start date yet. We're going to be meeting with the contractors for both, one over by Moore Brewing and then Oneida. We'll try to get it done as soon as possible. I think we have a completion date of the end of October. October 15th is the completion date for it.
Okay.
Biggest issue we're going to run into, we're already hearing about light poles and being able to get those in time, but if we can get a parking lot in.
I'm actually more concerned about the current construction that's going on at 59 West Bartlett Road, and to induce this into the mix is going to be catastrophic. If this is going to take X amount of weeks or a month to do, we need to definitely plan that, because traffic flow has definitely changed over there. And I know that the residents on Devon Avenue are seeing a huge increase in traffic going through there. So if we can coordinate that a little bit with IDOT.
Do you know anybody that lives over there?
I know somebody. I know somebody over there. IDOT is actually doing a fairly decent job monitoring traffic, but it is a lot of traffic to monitor, and it's backing up, and I just want to make sure we're cognizant of that when this does go out to bid and it gets started.
Good point. Anything else anybody would like to bring up? I don't think we can go through an entire meeting without Christie giving us an update on how the checklist went today for more.
Our final inspections are scheduled for 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. They did pass their landscape inspection. Woohoo! So,
All right.
we're going through, everyone will be out there. Fingers crossed.
The last gentleman that talked during the town hall, he mentioned bus traffic on Gerber and Army Trail. Did our traffic consultants agree with any of that this gentleman said? Or, I would just want to talk now while it's fresh in everybody's heads and
I
before
think
we
it's going
have
to be
cake.
fresh in our heads in committee though too.
Yeah.
So can we wait till that?
Well, I just want to know if the traffic consultant agreed with any of that.
She is here.
Okay.
So, Lynn,
Just real quick.
Lynn, do you agree with what the bus driver was saying with the approaches?
So there is, as part Thank you. There is, as part of the school project, an improvement that will separate the bus traffic from the parent drop-off pickup traffic. So that is an improvement for bus circulation traffic directly with the school. Related to bus traffic on Army Trail Road, currently there are buses that traverse Gerber to Army Trail Road, and a review of our crash history didn't indicate any safety concerns associated with current bus traffic out there, but that is something that we could definitely explore and look at to see if, because I know there is, I believe, right-of-way available there, that if any improvements or, removing of stop lines or anything needs to be done to improve that. But based on current operations, we weren't aware of any concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Any questions for staff? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to cake.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Daney, seconded by trustee Hopkins. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Sawansky?
Yes.
We are adjourned to cake.